We are just weeks away from the 2014 general election. And as part of our commitment to Democracy 2014, we're sitting down with the candidates.
Yeah, we want to help you get to know them before you head off to the polls and cast your vote.
Recently, our Chuck Stokes sat down with the 11th Congressional District candidate, Bobby McKenzie.
And joining me now on Democracy 2014 is Bobby McKenzie. He is the Democratic candidate for Michigan's 11th Congressional District, and we appreciate your coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chuck. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. The incumbent for this race is now out of it, so to speak, and there are two people running on the Democratic and Republican side of this fence. Why should the voters elect you as a new representative for that district? What is it about your background?
It's a great question, Chuck, and I think the contrast is clear between me and my opponent. I've spent the last 18 years working on some of the most complex problems facing our country and the world. I started my career 18 years ago at the CIA. I spent 2 years there as an analyst, as a graduate fellow. I would go on and spend 5 years working on national security matters, and most recently I was a senior advisor at the State Department. My opponent, on the other hand, has spent the last 18 years taking away people's homes. I want to focus on trying to move Southeast Michigan forward. I've got a 76-year-old father that's run a business for 50 years here, a small, modest business. I want to make sure that he can retire with confidence and dignity. I've got a younger brother who did his undergraduate and master's degree here, spent 6 months unable to find work, moves to Chicago, finds work there in a single week. Something's wrong with that. And I'll tell you, Chuck, everywhere I go, I meet people who know a similar story like my younger brother. We can do better, we deserve better.
You mentioned your CIA counterterrorism background. Some look at that and say, well, you know what? Given that kind of a background in this day and age, how do we know that we can even trust you? And why would we want to send you to be in the halls of Congress legislating when we're not real sure who you might be working with, so to speak?
Well, come on. I've worked very hard to keep our country safe. I've held the highest level clearances in this country. I've been vetted by the government. I look at it from a very different angle. In today's globalized world where violent extremism, terrorism, Ebola are real threats, we need people in Congress who can lead on these issues. But bear in mind, while I can lead on these issues, I want to be focused solely on Southeast Michigan. What can I do to be protecting veterans? What can I do to be moving the ball forward to ensure that nobody cuts Social Security or Medicare? And what can I do to make sure that folks that run small businesses like my father, nobody tries to create or establish an environment that's going to be crowding them out?
Bobby McKenzie, is government too big, or is government not doing enough for its citizens?
I don't think it's either or. I think what we've got to do is find the areas where it's working and try and shore up more support there. In places where it's not working, we need to do better. I mean, let's take the VA. The VA is a mess. Everybody gives lip service about trying to help veterans, but let's think about this. Michigan ranks 11th in the country for the number of veterans, and yet we rank almost dead last. We can do better. We deserve better. We've got to have people in Congress who are going to focus on trying to fix things, not shouting about the other side. If you talk to people on either side of the aisle, one thing is clear. People are tired of the bickering and the fighting. They want to see people who are going to be putting Michigan first and the country first.
On the international front, what area of the world concerns you the most, and what would you do about it?
I think the Middle East is an issue that we need to be very concerned about right now. I mean, we're looking at what's going on with ISIS in Iraq and Syria. It should definitely concern us. Over 10,000 individuals from over 80 countries, so-called foreign fighters, have gone to Syria to fight. I mean, if we want to flash back to 9/11, we're talking about 19 men who were passionately committed to killing Americans, 19 men with box cutters. We're talking about 10,000 individuals who have gone to Syria to train, to fight, to be radicalized, and then they're going to be returning to their home countries. We should be very concerned about this.
If you're elected to the next Congress on the issue of health care, will you go up there trying to fight to repeal health care or fix what you may view as some problems in a system that should stay?
I'm definitely going to be fighting to fix those areas that need to be refined and improved. The fact that we have tens of millions of people who are now covered, I think that's a positive. The fact that folks up to age 26 can be covered and focus on their parents, and focus on their education and looking for work, that's fantastic. The fact that people with pre-existing conditions such as pregnancy can be covered, I think is a positive. I think what we've got to do is identify those areas that are where there needs to be improvement and move on.
All right. Bobby McKenzie, thank you for coming in for this segment of Democracy 2014. I know that you're running in the 11th Congressional District as a Democrat, and we'll see what happens on November the 4th on Election Day. Thank you for joining this segment of Democracy 2014. Back to you.
And thank you, Chuck. Coming up on Friday at 7 p.m., we're going to introduce you to the other candidate running for that same seat, the 11th Congressional District, Dave Trott.
Yep, so make sure you look out for that. In the meantime, you can head to our website for everything you need to know for the November election.